Hey, what's up? Let's do some math today. In this video, we're going to talk about least common denominators. Now, least common denominators are something you've probably come across already several times, and also maybe heard them by a different name, LCM, least common multiples. Least common multiples are when we're just talking about numbers, like 2. Least common denominators are when we're talking about fractions, and then we're going to take that 2, we're going to put it, in the denominator there, and we're going to see how we can find a common denominator with a different number. So that's really what they are. Let's talk about finding them. There are a couple methods out there, but I'm going to focus with sort of a one method that I like to call the table/listing method. And just what it is just kind of grunt work. Like, we're just going to have some numbers in front of us, and we're going to list some multiples until we find a common one. And I think sometimes for a lot of students, that's just a really easy way to go about this instead of trying to break down the numbers and do it that way. So for example, let's say we have the numbers 3 and 7. What we can do is list out their common multiples. All right, now looking at these numbers, you might be like, I already know what the common multiple is. If so, that's great. But if not, maybe you can still take something from this technique. So let's go over it. So we'll start off with 3 times 1, which is 3. Then 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. And we're just going to keep on going. So 15, 18, 21, 24. List out a handful. All right. You never know how many it's going to take. Then we do the same thing with 7. 7 times 1 is 7. Then we have 14. Then we have 21. Then we have 28. And at this point, we can stop. And the reason why we can stop is because we have a 21 here and a 21 there. And so that's the thing. By listing out all the multiples, we're not going to miss anything. We're definitely going to find the first time they both share something in common, which in this case is 21. Okay, let's do another example. Let me clean this up. Watch this. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm not totally sure if I don't know what I'm doing. I take that back. I've seen my students do that. They are far, far cooler than I am. Okay, let's do a new color. Let's go with, let's go green. All right, now let's say we have the numbers 5 and 10. Now, there's a reason why I have this. Sometimes with the more complicated numbers, it might be hard to see this, but I'm hoping with these simpler numbers, it'll be easier to see. So you start listing out the multiples, 5, 10, 15, 20, so on and so forth. We get to the first one of 10, 10, 20. Notice, it's possible for one of the numbers to be the least common multiple. So that's the point I wanted to make here. So now we'll clean that up. We're going to leave 5 up here, and now we're going to take a look at 11. So 5 and 11. So let's start listing them out. 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, so on and so forth. Now here's the thing. If you have two numbers that you think maybe aren't all that related, like 5 and 11, what you can do is, especially if one of them is bigger, is take this big number and look at each one of these and see if you find a factor of 5, a factor of the other one in it. And here, 55 is in there. I know that 55 is divisible by 5, so this is going to be my common multiple. The thing is, that would save me a lot of work because I don't want to write all 11 multiples of 5 just to stumble upon 55. So sometimes it might help to start with the big number and work backwards and kind of be like, okay, I need something that could also be divided by 5. We'll see that again a little bit later. Right now, though, let's wrap things up on this page with a hack. And my hack is this. It won't always be a common denominator, but it will be a common, or it won't be the least common denominator, but it will be a common denominator. Let's say we have something like 1/6 and 1/8. We want to find a common denominator. If we want to find just a common denominator, multiply these two together. And that's how you can get a common denominator. Again, it might not be the least, because for the least common denominator for 6 and 8 is 24, but it's common. And when we're doing operations with fractions like addition and subtraction, that's all we really need. Our numbers might be a little bit bigger, but they'll still mean the same thing. And so now let's think about how you're going to need this and why we need to know about least common denominators. Like I just said, it's all very helpful for being able to add and subtract fractions. We need to have them be on the same terms. Okay? So first thing we want to do is make sure they have the same denominator. Then we want to write equivalent fractions. That means fractions that are equal but look different. Okay? Fractions that are equal but look different. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my common denominator of 4 and 10. Now again, I'm going to start with my big number because I can go 10, 20, 30, 40, and I've stumbled across a couple that would work. I know that 20 is one that would work. So I could go 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So my common denominator is 20. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my 9 over 10, and I'm going to set that equal to something over 20. I will take my 3 over 4 and do the same thing. Set that equal to something over 20. If it's a common denominator, it's got to be down there. All right, now I got to ask myself, what do I need to multiply this by to get that? And so here, I'd multiply by 5, and I'm going to do the same thing up here, times by 5, and I'll get 15. Same thing, what do I need to multiply 10 by to get 20? 2. So I'll times by 2, and I'll get 18. And so these are my equivalent fractions. This is really what we're going to need, 15 over 20 and 18 over 20. Then maybe I do some addition or subtraction with it. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Switch up the colors a little. Here we have 11 over 20 and 3 over 8. So again, I'll take my numbers 8 and 20. I'll start listing some multiples out. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 20, 40. All right, I found something in common. And again, I'll go 11 over 20, set that equal to something over 40, and ask, what do I need to multiply by? That'd be 2. So I'll multiply my 11 by 2, and I get 22 over 40. Take my 3 over 8. Think, what do I need to multiply 8 by to get to 40? That is 5. So 3 times 5 will give me 15. And now I have my equivalent fractions. Again, let's look at this one. This is a nice little hack here. So we look at 5 and 14. I might have to go through a lot of multiples of 5 before I one that works with 14. So I'm just going to actually go for multiplying these two together. So I'll go 14 times 5, and that will give me 70. And I now have a common denominator, and this happens to be the least common denominator. If you really want to know, I can explain when you can tell if it's the least common denominator or just a common denominator. So if so, please reach out to me, and I'd love to explain that to you. But right now, I'm going to take my 9 over 14 and think, how am I going to get this to 70? Well, I just did that right here. Times it by 5. So 9 times 5 is 45. Same thing with 5. So how do I get 1/5 and turn that into something over 70? I times this by 14. I times that by 14. 14 over 70. I have my two equivalent fractions. Finally, we could kick things up a notch by having you deal with multiple fractions and finding a common multiple for all of them, or a common denominator for all of them. It doesn't change anything, it just is a little more work. So I'd write out 2, 6, 10, start listing out some factors. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 6, 6, 12. So I'm seeing something in common here so far. 18, another thing in common. 24 and 30. And then I have 10, 20, 30, 40. Now the big thing is I need something that works for all of them. So while here I have 6 and 6, not good enough. There's no 6 down there. Likewise, I have 20 and 20, but I don't have it down there. It's missing. The first one that works for all of them would be 30. So let's do that in red. 30, 30. And then 30 would also work for 2. I just have to keep writing out some more, but eventually I'd get to 30. And so now it's all about rewriting these in terms of 30ths. Play the same game that we've been doing. So I'm going to clean this up for really quickly. Myself some workspace. 1/2 is equal to what over 30? Times it by 15, so I'd get 15 over 30. Oops, I need 5 over 6. Times that by something to get to 30, that'd be 5, so it'd be 25 over 30. And then 7 over 10 is going to equal something over 30 times the denominator by 3. The numerator also needs to be times by 3, so 21 over 30. So the process is the same, it's just a little more work. So that's how we find least common denominators and then what we're going to have to do with them. Good luck on your practice, and let me know if you have any questions.